All right, it is 7 p.m., so I'm going to call this meeting to order, and I'd like to ask Mr. Bash to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Incidentally, one of we're practicing our policies here. Well, welcome everybody. Before we dive in, I'd like to open up the agenda for consideration. Anything in the agenda that needs to be moved or added, subtracted. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which contains routine matters that typically do not require board discussion. Individual board members may remove an item from a consent agenda for separate action or discussion. Tonight's consent agenda items are as follows. Approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting held September 27, 2022. Approval of various personnel recommendations. Accepting donations totaling $1,150. Approve the assurance of compliance with state and federal law prohibiting discrimination. And approval of the bill vouchers, EP regular entries, EFT vouchers, and Capital One entries that are listed in the consent agenda. Could I have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Any questions, comments? Otherwise, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to the superintendent's report on excellence. Dr. Flesher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A lot of interesting information and good news to share. Last meeting, I was able to share the names of our 4 semifinalists, and since then, we've had 5 additional students in the class of 2023 that have been named National Merit Commended Scholars. We congratulate Angus Muldoon, Roxanne Nessett, Brock Payton, Rachel Push, and Caleb Vaughn. Congratulations to these students who are leaders in academics and character at Orono High School. Homecoming was September 30th, and we only had a beautiful fall day to celebrate, but we were pleased to welcome a great number of families to campus. The floats were amazing, the band was terrific, and our younger students really enjoyed looking at older students who were true examples of student spirit. Yeah, there's some kind of feedback, Mr. Joel.
I can't control from here, and all goes in ceiling back, so.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll keep talking until he comes. Is it? Yeah, a little bit. Sure. Better? Okay. The floats were amazing. The band was terrific. Congratulations to Homecoming King Charlie Krause and Homecoming Queen Maddie Cardinal and the entire Homecoming Corps. The varsity football win with the score of 52-6 capped off a great day. And on Sunday of Homecoming weekend, the Orono Alumni Association of the Foundation honored 3 individuals through the Distinguished and Promising Alumni Awards programs. Congratulations to Mr. Jim Franklin with class of 1994. Jim is the City of Rochester Police Chief and a Distinguished Award winner. He's widely recognized for his efforts to develop and model a positive culture of continuous improvement with the police department. He provided an amazing speech that morning, very inspirational. Jesus Martinez was a class of 2011 and is a Promising Alumni Award winner. Jesus has had an impactful career in broadcasting and has been dedicated to supporting the Hispanic community in Orono schools. He is a frequent speaker and volunteer in the district, sharing his personal story with students and communicating that education and a strong work ethic are the key to realizing dreams. And then Grace Burbig, class of 2020, was the second Promising Alumni Award winner. She's the foundation and president of Letters for Love, an international nonprofit, an organization that was started at Orono High School as a student club and now has more than 1,000 member clubs across the world. Through handwritten letters to patients in children's hospitals, Letters of Love has brought a message of love to more than 60,000 children around the globe. Congratulations to these amazing alumni who bring so much pride to the district. In athletics this fall, the Orono boys soccer team is currently 15-0, taking the conference championship. They are currently seated number 1 in the section and ranked number 1 in state class AA. Girls soccer is seated number 2 in the section. Both teams are headed into section quarterfinal matches at Pessinen Stadium this Thursday, October 13th. The girls swim and dive team celebrated a conference championship and will swim at True Team sections this weekend. They are currently ranked number 3 in state Class A. Girls tennis went 1-1 in section team play and now will start individual tennis competitions this next week. The boys and girls cross country teams will compete in the conference race next Tuesday, October 18th in Bloomington. Best of luck to all of our student athletes. And finally, Orono theater programs have engaged a lot of talented students this fall, and they're working hard now to prepare for the upcoming shows. Middle school performances of Sideways Stories from Wayside School are this Thursday through Saturday, with plenty of seats still available. Tickets went on sale today for Orono High School fall musical, The Sound of Music, with performances November 11th through the 19th. You can visit our website under District News Posts for links to purchase tickets. Come see our wonderful students. And that concludes my report this evening.
All right, thank you. Next, we'll move on to board members, questions and comments, an opportunity for board members to update each other on committee activities and other items of mutual interest. Tonight,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any updates, but I would be remiss as a parent if I didn't say congratulations to the boys varsity for being number 1. I think my son said it was the second time in program history they've been undefeated in the season, so it's a pretty good accomplishment. So congrats, and also to the women's. And I encourage everyone to come out and support them on Thursday, because they will be here at home, so they would love to have the community support them. We don't know yet. Waiting on that. I'm sure Buffy's working on it, but I don't know yet.
boys and girls, though?
If they're both, I don't know about the girls. I know the boys, but I'm not sure. Christy mentioned the girls, so maybe
It would be,
Yeah.
if they're the number 2 seed, it's likely that they would be at home, and so one would be at 5 and one at 7.
Yeah.
High probability.
That'd be great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Borges.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in addition, I just want to echo what Dr. Fletcher said about the alumni breakfast. It was really wonderful and a really nice way to bring different groups of people who may not know each other together and just celebrate all of the great things our alumni do. So thank you again to the Orono Foundation. And I also was going to plug the middle school play, so thank you. The other thing I wanted to mention is that we had a finance and facilities meeting, and Martha and Mike, if you want to embellish in any way after I give my update, please feel free to do so. We had a few items on the agenda. The first that we talked about was an enrollment update, which is very common. October 1st is sort of a nice standing point that we look at, and we're back to, at that moment in time, the exact same number of students that we had in 2019. So that's, now we can, with that information, help move forward with budgeting. We also we talked very briefly about the long-term facility maintenance study that continues. Their Wold Architects continues to look at all of our facilities so that they can give us a really good recommendation on what we should be addressing and when. We looked over the 2021-2022 preliminary financial results. And the big takeaway that I thought was compelling was that our fund balance is now at 6.17%. And our goal, what we try to always maintain is 5%. So we're definitely still above that, but COVID definitely cost us some of our fund balance. And I'm very happy with the decisions we made in the past so that we could face that tremendous disruption from a cost perspective and still have a fund balance. We also looked at the preliminary 2023 property tax levy, and that is still being refined and will be refined until December because we have a placeholder for the LTFM, the long-term facility maintenance. Again, we're waiting on that study. And then we also assume the tech levy passes with that. And the change there is 4.39%. So there's a lot of assumptions, and we'll know more as time marches on. And then I think that was it in terms of our discussion. Yeah. Oh, one other thing. Jim was kind enough to bring us a template that state law is going to have to require us to start using. And yeah, Martha's shaking her head. It is, it's not actual numbers. We can't change anything because of the laws. But it's not actual numbers, it's budget, and and it doesn't add up. And so there's a lot of issues. Yeah. And they had a snapshot where it's just 1 year, because city and counties typically are, correct, from January to December. And so that's how they think. That is not how schools work. We cover a multitude of years, 2 years at every budget. And so I don't know what's going to happen with that, but it's going to be we'll probably get questions about that as a school board, as administrators, even teachers, because it's very confusing. So that was our finance and facilities. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you. Ms. Vandeven?
Thank you, Ms. Borchers. That was a great explanation of stuff, and I agree. And it doesn't add up. I am a CPA, and I have to tell you, and we talked about it doesn't foot. Foot means the fact it doesn't add up. So it literally does not add up. They have these columns, and you cannot track it. And this is going to our taxpayers. So this is not good. Orono Youth met on September 29th, and Ms. Wallander was there too. Nope, she wasn't. Okay. We had a recap of the 9th grade support position that we heard part of it, and that is the pilot extension of Spark. Extremely well here. It needs Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's mentoring, and it's going extremely well. It's something we hadn't done, but our kids had been in Sparks for so long, and now those same 9th grade kids are continuing on, which is great. We talked about the fact that there will be a wellness expo this year. We did one in May of last year, and we're going to continue it again. So it was because it was such a success. We talked about the early childhood screening initiative that we do with Great Expectations with our collective impact, that we work with Interfaith Outreach as well as the Wayzata schools. And what we're trying to do is we want to encourage kids to come, obviously, to end up go through screening, and we're trying to see what are the barriers for parents in terms of why they aren't bringing their child in for screening. And so we're trying to see what we can do to communicate it differently to our families. We talked about the Live More, Screen Less initiative that we're talking about, the digital well-being, and we're going to continue with that. And then we talked a little bit about summer recaps that we had heard from Tiffany Clifton when she came to us. And then Weekend, just to let you know, Weekend is the equivalent of Interfaith Outreach, and it's out of West Tonka Mound. And they are providing services this year on the 4th Monday of the month, food and counselors at the Discovery Center, which is excellent. So they're here on our campus, or here on the campus out in Maple Plain. And the winter gear giveaway, even though tomorrow's going to be 80, Weekend is having one November 1st and 2nd, and Interfaith Outreach started theirs on October 17th. So, winter, I guess, is coming. I also attended Homecoming, which was fun to sit and listen to the Pep Fest. That was great to be part of that and everything. AMSD, the Association of Metropolitan School Districts, had their meeting on September 30th. It was amazing. We had a report or presentation by Dr. Densley, who is a professor at Metro State, about the Violence Project. And I don't know if any of you have heard about the Violence Project, and there's also been a book written about it. It was amazing. It's a 5 years of data collection that he did along with some colleagues. And it's bringing the human label to the person who is who ends up being the perpetrator of violence. And the whole discussion about 91% of the perpetrators are current or former students. So we have to look to our insiders. We have to look to those who are inside our school as far as possible people who would do violence. 87% were in crisis prior to the shooting. 80% are suicidal. So their whole intent is the fact that they will die as a result of this. He talked about the fact that relationships are so important. What we have talked about here, the relationships with kids, and the fact that we have every staff person select a sticky of every student's name so every student is known, how important that is, that if in fact you do that, it's relationships that will make a huge difference in terms of this. And to prevent bullying and suicide is important, and how important one adult in the building makes it important for children. Finance and facilities, then I did something else. I can't remember. Oh, board policy. Yep, that we're going to be talking about tonight. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Bash?
Well, as Martha said, you'll see our continued work on board policy in a little bit. Just a couple things on the finance. I don't, as Sarah and Martha said, this statement that's going to go in, it goes in the property tax statement that everybody gets in November. And if you can remember, you always get the statement with the numbers on it. In the last couple of years, Hennepin County has always had a flyer in there that's told you kind of how the county spends its money. Well, this is the template that the county is saying I think it's counties, right? Or is it state mandated? State mandated that you'll put in there. So it's this table that the state has mandated, but it's on the fiscal years of cities and counties, not school districts. So again, as Sarah said, it's budget, not actual. You'll look at the years and you'll say, well, that doesn't match our year descriptions. So it's going to be really frustrating. But it's a state mandated table that the numbers go in. So it's going to be, it's very frustrating. Related to the long-term facilities report, it probably might not be ready by our November meeting. And so we just need to be prepared that we might want to workshop in the 2 weeks between Thanksgiving and our December meeting where we probably won't be ready then, and we're going to want to workshop before we do that. So just kind of plan on as a possibility for that. And that's my report.
All right, thanks. Ms. Wallander?
Negotiations committee is active with our community right now. Allie and I have attended a meeting since our last board meeting, ongoing. And tomorrow night I'm on the agenda at the Minnetonka Beach City Council meeting to discuss the technology levy. It's always good to check in with them. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I think the only thing I would add is tomorrow we have our first meeting of the Strive mentors. And I think they're probably still looking for some additional mentors, so it's not too late to sign up. It's really a fun experience to develop a relationship with one of our students that needs a little bit of extra mentoring, and very well designed program. So I would urge any members of our public that are interested in serving in that capacity. It's one meeting a month. It's not a heavy lift, so but a really meaningful one. So we encourage you to participate. I think that is it. Let's move on to the item 7, old business. Is there any old business we need to bring? I'm not aware of any. If not, we'll move on to new business. First item of which is our first reading of 5 new policies. So I will turn it over to Dr. Flesher to introduce those.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I invite Dr. Scott Alger, Executive Director of Human Resources, to the board table for presentation this evening regarding the 5 new policies in the 500 series for your review for first reading. I thank again the Board Policy Committee for their work this fall and the continued review of the series related to our students. Please reach out in the coming weeks for any further discussion, and I turn it over to Dr. Alger.
Thank you, Dr. Fleischer, Mr. Chair, members of the board. The policies, as Dr. Fletcher pointed out, the policy committee are a continuation of the series titled Students. Tonight, we present 5 policies from the series to the board for first reading. Before proceeding, it may be helpful to once again point out to members of the board that it is not uncommon for the board policy committee to find that policy numbers designated by National School Association or MSBA do not align with the policies by Orono schools. So tonight, each of the 5 policies up for first reading have numbers that do not align. That's true for each of the 5. Or regularly does Orono's policy numbers with MSBA's designations. The committee likewise is attentive to specific policy references embedded in the text policy. So many times our policies will have numbers and references to other policies. So when we change these numbers, we're attentive that to all of those references, making sure that we're not perpetuating any kind of misunderstandings. I will read the title of each of the 5 policies being presented tonight and also provide a brief summary as appropriate. So first of all, policy 521, student use and parking of motor vehicles, patrols, inspections, and searches. Policy 521 will be renumbered to policy 527. The only recommended language change is in section 4 of that policy. We're recommending the change of the word "and" to the word "or" in one single sentence. So that would be the only very important change, but minimal in the amount of changes there. Policy 522, student, parental, family, and marital status non-discrimination. The committee recommends renumbering policy 522 to policy 528. The draft policy also removes unnecessary policy references. 523, staff notification of violent behavior by students. Policy 523 will be renumbered to policy 529. In the draft being presented, the term school board members has been removed from under the school staff member definition. And that change necessitates the renumbering of the remainder of the items in that section. Policy 524, immunization requirements. Policy 524 will be renumbered to policy 530. It's recommended that language be revised in section 3, 4, and section 7 with titles of medical personnel exactly as recommended by MSBA model policies. And lastly, 525, as Mr. Toon perfectly this evening, the policy committee recommends changing the number of policy 525 to 531 with no other changes recommended to that policy. So the policy committee welcomes any feedback from board members regarding these policies, and we will return for second reading and approval of these 5 policies as well as additional policies as the review process continues in the future.
All right, questions for Dr. Alger? Yes, I had just one on the immunization requirements. There's now a new language that requires a annual report. Is that a new report, or has that just been added to policy?
We've been doing that for some time.
So it's just added to the policy, make it official. Any other questions? Thank you, and thank you to the policy committee once again for the fine work that they're doing in terms of updating our policies. So, arduous work. Thank you, Dr. Alger. All right, we'll move on to the Orono Educator Excellence presentation. Very excited to hear about what some of our educators were up to over the summer. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Fletcher again.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're really excited to share our work related to the Orono Excellence Fund, and I invite Dr. Aaron Ruland, Executive Director of Learning and Accountability, Ms. Katie Stanley, Orono Middle School 7th grade English teacher and curriculum lead, as well as Mr. Ryan Gallagher, 1st grade teacher at Schumann Elementary School. As the board is aware, the Orono Excellence Fund was created as a result of the generosity of the Orono Schools community. A $1 million pledge was made in honor of Dr. Karen Orcutt's service to the school district and is dedicated to expanding the resources and innovation in excellence through staff professional development. And we're thrilled to build opportunities for our students through developing our incredible Orono faculty and staff. Investing in staff invests in children's daily experiences. These funds allow Orono staff to engage with content area experts across the world to bring the very best teaching and learning practices to our children here in Orono. We want to expand the opportunities for Orono teachers to engage and all staff in planning and dreaming about innovative programming for children. These funds will be dispersed over a 10 to 15 year period, and tonight Dr. Ruland and his wonderful team is here to update the board regarding the process that's been developed by the steering team, as well as the beginning expenditures in the last school year and summer. Dr. Ruland.
Thank you, Dr. Fletcher, Mr. Chair, members of the board. So you do have in your materials an infographic that hopefully will summarize this process as well. So first, I too would pass on our appreciation to the community, to the generous donor, and to the foundation for all they've done for us. We truly couldn't achieve excellence without this work. So thank you to the community and to all involved. As Dr. Fletcher mentioned, this opportunity to distribute educator excellence funds was made possible by a generous donation. We decided that it would be best to offer different opportunities for individuals, schools, and for district-wide initiatives to take advantage of these funds. So we created 3 buckets, per se, of funding sources. So one in the area of district-wide strategic growth, areas that we're focused on for district-wide priorities. One in the area of school design for growth and development, so the work that the schools are doing, the buildings are doing. And then finally, the individual teacher team innovation grants. And Mr. Gallagher and Ms. Stanley will be talking about their work in that area tonight. The individual teacher team grants, we use a proposal process, an RFP process. And the emphasis was on innovation, but we did leverage several criterion in evaluating the submissions. So we received 21 submissions. We had a team of administrative and teacher leaders look at all of those, review all of those, and we were able to fund all of those, which was wonderful in the first year. So on the lower left, you see the criterion. We looked for innovation. We looked for proposals that were goal-oriented, that had some significance or impact to the system beyond the work of individual teachers. Timelines for the work. There was an evaluation and data process that they engaged in sharing. So I think you're going to hear about not only application in individual classrooms, but also team processes and then finally articulated. So that's we did in follow-up to the original submissions to work with individuals who submitted to refine proposals and to help them move along that continuum. So on the bottom right is a word cloud. It was kind of interesting to do this today, to see what the primary areas were that were funded. And literacy was a primary area that was funded. Everything from leadership development to implementation of our phonics and dyslexia work, to letters training to better align with the work that's happening statewide, but also areas that included college planning. There's some really exceptional work happening at the high school with understanding that changing dynamic of college admissions, work in character, and then areas even more targeted like AP psychology and our work with EL students. So very exciting. We're in the beginning phases of this, so we think it's even going to get better this year, and this spring we'll be able to offer another round of submission opportunities. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Gallagher next. And so happy, what I love about their presentations and what they have to share is not only that individual application in their classrooms, but the work they're doing as teacher leaders, and they're both really exceptional teacher leaders. So Mr. Gallagher.
Good evening. Like Aaron said, my name is Ryan Gallagher. I am a first grade teacher at Schumann. This is my 5th year here. I previously taught for 5 years in Chicago before moving back here to be closer to home. And I've been very blessed and grateful to have been able to call Orono my home away from home for the last 5 years. A quick aside and kind of funny story, when I was in high school, I was on my high school speech team, and I'm still very close with my old coach, and so I texted her today saying I was giving a small presentation to a school board, and her just first response was, well, you're kind of a mush mouth, so make sure you practice with a pencil in your mouth. So I promise I'll try not to be a mush mouth during this presentation. But I have had many opportunities over the last year, thanks to this fund. Summer, I had the opportunity to attend the PLC at Work Institute. PLC stands for Professional Learning Community, Professional Development Opportunity. And in my 10 years of teaching, by far and none, that was probably one of the best learning opportunities that I've had as a teacher. I left that conference feeling invigorated, empowered, also remembering why I'm a teacher, and so grateful for being called to this vocation of teaching. The conference was all about collaboration and building capacity among teachers and staff, and really looking at how to collaborate in deep and meaningful and intentional ways to support all students. And it was just a wonderful 3 days, and I left again just feeling so ready to take what I learned at that conference and to apply it into my own classroom and at Schumann. I am a PLC lead, so I lead a small group of teachers through the PLC process, and I have been able to already, even in the first few weeks of school, take what I've been learning, what I learned at that conference, and apply it to my leadership abilities in the PLC that I lead. And I'm just really excited to see where that work takes us. And I know that she'll talk a little bit more about that PLC conference, but by far and none, it was just one of the best opportunities that I had to over my last 10 years of teaching. My other 3 opportunities have been specifically related to literacy. Over the summer, I had the opportunity to attend through the Institute of Multisensory Education in Orton Gillingham week-long training. I feel that Schumann has had a strong commitment to building early literacy, the early literacy fund that leads students to be successful readers and learners and lifelong readers and learners. I think over the last couple of years, I think we have recommitted ourselves to that effort, that strong effort, particularly with students with dyslexia and other students with reading exceptionalities. So the training that I went to was really a week-long training on learning how to implement multisensory and multimodal phonics instruction. And as week-long training just looked at well already, and so we have we do. Especially for my students with dyslexia and the emergent bilingual students that I have. Again, similar to the PLC conference, it was a week-long conference. It was on Zoom, so there was definitely some Zoom fatigue by that Friday afternoon. But again, I was amazed at just the building of my own teacher knowledge and my professional knowledge in the science of reading and how to support all students. And again, similar to the PLC Institute, I feel like I've already been able to implement and do things that I learned in that training. So one example is I was brave and we introduced sand writing and multisensory sand in our phonics part of the day. And with 23 students, I wasn't really sure how that was going to go, but they've actually done a really nice job, and I can already tell just what a difference some of that extra multisensory and multimodal instruction is doing with my students. And I feel really empowered to support not only the average student with average reading abilities, but I really do feel like I can really support my students with dyslexia and my emergent bilinguals this year, which is something that's really important to me. Minnesota, like our states country, are looking at kind of what state legislatures can do to help support teachers with reading and supporting students with reading. So Minnesota passed a bipartisan bill that I know Wendy Lunsgaard advocated for, and the bill passed providing teacher training, specifically in the science of reading, and again supporting students with dyslexia. And so I was one of the 6 teachers signed up to take part in this training. It's the LETTERS training, which stands for Literacy Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. And so what that has looked like since January of this year, I have been attending 1 to 2 live sessions that are put on by LETTERS trained facilitators. And then additionally, it's included 8 modules of asynchronous work. And it's all been about and related to the science of reading, building my capacity as a teacher, and really looking at how to support students building those foundational skills. Again, similar to the Orton-Gillingham training, I've just been amazed at my own knowledge of what I've been learning, and I feel like it's just has really complemented what I did with Orton-Gillingham, and I have just been very thankful for just how much I've learned individually as a teacher. And what's been really nice is Dr. Enrollment and Beth Pearson, our district literacy specialist, we've really collaborated to think about, how can we disseminate what I've been learning through LETTERS and through Orton-Gillingham? How can we disseminate it to other teachers? So again, it's just not this silo, but rather it's being distributed among the building. My final one, I'm sorry if I'm rambling, I guess I didn't realize how much I had to say. My final one is alongside Tina Dickinson, our K2 reading interventionist. Her and I are leading a professional book study related to phonics, and so we are facilitating a bi-monthly after-school book study that currently has 7 teachers, and the book is focused on, again, incorporating the science of reading into our instruction. The book is Shifting the Balance, so it talks about shifts that teachers can do to implement the science of reading in their classroom, and so that is something that we just started actually last week. Last week we had our first meeting as a book club. So I think something beautiful about this fund is I think Dr. Flesher and Dr. Rulin and Dr. Lemkarski have really empowered me to build capacity among my colleagues and coworkers. And I, as someone who is aspiring to be a future person today and a future leader, it has been a wonderful opportunity. My own professional knowledge as a teacher and my content knowledge, specifically in reading, but I feel that I've really been empowered to build capacity among my first grade team and the broader Schumann building. And that's just been really special to me. It's just been wonderful to see the excitement that can happen when you bring something new to staff and they want to learn more and they want to know how and they want to know why. And it's been just an amazing experience. I felt just as someone who's aspiring to be a leader, what a great opportunity for me to learn how to support all teachers and students. So I just feel very grateful and blessed, thankful for all of the opportunities that have been provided from this fund. So thank you.
Thank you. We're grateful and blessed to have teachers that want to work as hard as you do, and in making yourself into a better educator. And wonderful. Yes. Questions?
Okay, I have a question. Can you describe a little bit more how first graders and sand, which sounds like a disaster waiting to happen, helps with phonics?
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit more.
So for those who are not familiar with our Sunday program, it's a pretty structured 25 to 30 minutes of our day. And so in first grade, what that looks like is we gather on the rug and we will read the sounds that I have on the smart board. So students will see a letter, like the letter B, and we'll say the sound B. And so we'll go through that first, and that's usually just about a minute or two. And then the second part of the program is where students are writing sounds. So last year, when we were doing it, we would just do it on whiteboards and markers. But during this part, this is where I incorporated the multisensory sand. So I have, each student has their own sand tray that they gather and get to their desks. And I always find it successful if I give them about a minute or two to just kind of freeze and kind of get all their wiggles out. And then, I think something that I've learned in my 10 years of teaching is letting students rise to the occasion. And so holding students to expectations, giving them a chance that they can. And so, it takes a lot of here's what we do with sand, here's what not we do with sand. And surprisingly, they just continue to do it. And they kind of know that take a break from it, but it's a really critical piece of my instruction that I want to try with. And I want to make sure learning is messy, literally. So what they'll do is I'll say, okay, students, we're going to say the sound and write the sentence. That's multi-sensory. And then we put our sand trays away, which is reading the words and then writing. Strategy. So I can demonstrate if we want, but so if we spell the word bat, we would pound it out. We go bat, and then we'll touch spell. So we go bat, and then students will write it. And then what's really neat about that is, if I notice a student who spelled bat maybe B, what I can say is I can say, okay, look at that sound right here. That sound needs to be fixed. So again, it's a really multi-sensory way for them to learn how to spell. So yeah, I probably jinxed it, and tomorrow we probably won't be having sand, but I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed that we'll continue to do it. So yeah, thank you.
Other questions before we go on to Ms. Stanley?
May I just compliment you on taking what you learned and turning it into some of your life goals that you want to be a principal.
Thank you.
We have heard, that we're losing leadership in schools. And this is awesome that you're doing that. Thank you for seizing on that opportunity and taking your vision even further. Thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you.
Other questions, comments?
And my only wonder was whether or not Katie should try the other mic. Miss Stanley.
Yeah.
Is this on work or should I go closer? Awesome. Hi, I'm Katie Stanley, 7th grade English teacher, and I'm a curriculum lead in literacy as well as a building PLC lead. And so the professional learning communities that Ryan talked about, it's my job at the middle school to oversee the different PLCs that are learning about different topics of study as well. I am intensely grateful to the Orono Foundation for this gift. I am a repeat offender in terms of applying for these funds. Several years ago, I had the opportunity to go to the Leslie Literacy Institute out in Boston, Massachusetts, and I will say without a doubt that that training provided by the foundation through that fund was more foundational to my teaching instruction than my undergraduate degree. Fun fact, I'm also an avid killer of houseplants. I like to murder them indiscriminately. And much like a houseplant, a teacher needs watering every once in a while. We need a new infusion of life and ideas. We need to be challenged and we need to be pushed. And this year, when I was with Mr. Gallagher at the PLC at Work conference, the keynote speaker, Anthony Muhammad, said something that really struck me. He said that of all of the professions, education is the second most researched, second to medicine. The most research dollars are spent in the area of education. And that really gets at the heart of why we need to invest in teacher training beyond a 4-year degree, beyond a master's degree, because we want to be on the cutting edge of that research. We want to know, what are our thought leaders sharing with us about dyslexia? What are our thought leaders saying our focus should be in intervention? And the foundation gives us that ability to be in the room where those decisions are being made, to be in the room where it happens. Hamilton. I am really also very, very grateful to the leadership of Dr. Christy and Aaron here as well, simply because they have fostered an air of collaboration in this district that is parallel to none. I teach in the middle school, but I am also extremely proud to be an Orono parent, and my son goes to Schumann Elementary. And in watching his growth as a learner, I get to see echoes of the best practices I've been trained in through this training in my own student occur naturally. Good ideas in Oronos do not stay behind closed doors. We like to tell everybody and then we like to make people do it. So every time I go to a conference or a training, I come back and I'll tell my team, I've had a great idea, and they groan because I know I'm going to ask them to do more work. And that's like hallmark of a good organization. We are collaborative, but we are supportive at the same time. And that's what these funds really do. Ms. Vandeven, you spoke at the beginning about the power of relationships. And this summer after the PLC at Work training, I came back and I presented some of those ideas to my staff, particularly around the area of intervention. This is my second time at this conference, and the tone had really changed after our pandemic of how do we meet the needs of learners who might be experiencing gaps in their education? How do we help fill those buckets? And as I'm presenting to this room of the middle school staff, I'm seeing heads nod in agreement. I'm seeing excitement in the eyes, and I'm seeing a willingness of a group of people who know they can make the change. John Hattie says that teacher efficacy, the belief that we can move the bar, is one of the single greatest indicators of success in an organization. And in Orono, because of the investment of the foundation, because of the investments of the grants, we get to reap those rewards, and the return on your dividend of investment is excellent. It is not a district that rests on its laurels. We are full of staff members and people you and I work with on a daily basis who aren't sitting here today, but are so incredibly powerful and so incredibly transformative because of the learning that you guys have allowed them to do. So thank you very much for investing in us. Through us, most of these ideas make their way to all corners of our organization. And it's something, as you kind of mentioned, Ryan, that people who feel valued and people who feel invested in stay, and they return that investment back to their community. And so I am grateful for the investment in me, I'm grateful for the investment in my staff, and I'm grateful for the investment in my child. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions for Mrs. Stanley?
I have a comment and it's very dry and boring. But I feel the need to say it. We've been doing the tech levy information sessions or just talking with people on a day-to-day basis. Some people think this $1 million gift went the technology or that it's for something else. It is dedicated, correct me if I'm wrong, dedicated simply to professional development for 10 to 15 years.
100%.
Perfect. So I just wanted to state that outright, clear up confusion. And thank you. You spoke at the Orono Foundation coffees a few weeks ago, and you're, just like tonight, your words move us and help us remember our purpose as well. So thank you.
Other comments, questions?
I'll just add one thing that we have, in addition to the two wonderful staff members that are here, there are another, I think, 18 people that have submitted proposal, and they also represent teams. So for instance, I think as Ryan's sitting on the book study at Schumann, and there are 7 on that group. So you can see it just begin, those ideas pervading the organization that we're really excited about. And we've got school counselors going to Harvard to look at the changing nature, that will be this summer, the changing nature of the admissions process and how to help our students. And they were also at, I think in Texas this summer, at the National School Conference, School Counselor Conference as well. So there are many other people that are represented that are impacted. And I just wanted to also thank Dr. Ruland, the donor, incredibly, as well as our staff members here that are willing to come and share their story. I appreciate your time very much and your energy and dedication to our children.
Yes. Well, obviously wonderful to have the resources, but even more wonderful to see teachers have the initiative to continuously improve. That's what we're all about. And really wonderful to hear your stories and to share the excitement that you have and the gifts that you're giving to our students every day. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Any other new business to come before the meeting? Yeah, exactly. If there was, it would be if not, I would point you to the information on, including our numbers. I'll point out that our next regular meeting will be held 2 weeks from tonight, back here, October 24th, 6:30 p.m. In the District Office Assembly Room. With that, I would entertain.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned.